Welcome to No Such Thing as Normal with Natalie Hayes and Jess McKeown.
This is our casual podcast where we talk about all the things you're not supposed to talk about in order to help you normalize real life, because we're all just a bunch of weirdos having a completely human experience in a society that asks us to pretend like we're not.
I'm your host, Natalie. I'm a trauma-informed intuitive mindset and manifestation coach.
And I'm your other host, Jess, a gifted spirit baby medium facilitating deep soul healing.
Be sure to subscribe where you listen to podcasts, and you can catch our 100% unedited episodes up on YouTube. And you can also follow us on Instagram at No Such Thing as Normal Pod for more weird and woo content.
Yes, and if you like this episode, and we hope that you do, please be sure to rate and review so more people can unleash their weird with you.
Yes, we want all of the weirdos completely unleashed in the world.
That's yes.
The goal.
And do you love our new intro song? Hello.
So here for it.
It's so fun.
It's so fun.
We've been like just growing this little podcast, and we did our little intro last week, and we are excited to talk about the mother wound. Dun, dun, dun. I mean, we're just like going right for the jugular. We're not sorry. We're just, it's cancer season, right?
Yeah, totally. All about mothers, which, I mean, there's so much to talk about with the mother wound.
Yeah. And we should side note that both Natalie and I are like super into astrology, though not official like givers of it. You probably are more than I am, right? You do read charts.
Yeah, I call myself a hobby astrologer.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not even that, but I so want to be. But we will definitely have that influence, right? And I think I've shifted my life even more so to follow that and follow the moon cycles versus the more, structure of the calendar, which doesn't really suit me all the time. So
no. Also great if you're a spiritual entrepreneur or whatever. I use the calendar when I can't think of content. I just am like, oh, well, what house does Cancer rule over? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. And I think too, like, if you kind of use that as a guidance for your life, it's a good time to look at family issues, mother wounds, home stuff, like the universe, the stars, if you will, are supporting us in like looking at that. It's going to be more potent. It's going to be more intense. So like, let's crack it open.
Let's talk about it. Jess, when I say mother wound, what do you think of?
Good Lord. I think of, first of all, I think of mother-daughter relationships, right? And all the different complexities that come with, two females, so to speak, and the energy between women, females.
I understand.
But like just this, you do, like this energy that is just different between my dad and I, or, probably between a mother and a son is my assumption. And I think about how the mother is so very like iconic, and there's so much expectation on motherhood, and there's so much that we want to receive from our mother that we don't always receive. And so I think a lot about just my own mother, but also really what like I learned from her, and also what I'm still learning from her, and how she challenges me, and how she makes me think about things, and how she also opens up my gifts. I saw this really cute meme that was like, don't tell me your sun sign, like tell me the sun signs of your parents so I can know your trauma.
Oh,
right. But like my mom is a Cancerian, right?
Yeah.
So like my mom is all about home and family and all this kind of stuff. And she's also very like much a crab, she's got her little pinchiness, and she's got her ways that she does things. And I'll try to help her do something, and I'm Aries, and I'm like, A to B, 1, 2, 3, let's go. And she's like, well, she moves things around sometimes, and it like kind of drives me crazy because I just want her to accomplish it. But what she's taught me is like, she does things in her way, and really to allow people to do things and to be, who they are in their own way. So that's what comes up for me initially when you say that. What about you? When you think of like the mother wound, what comes up?
I feel like it's actually been a really big theme in my family. When I first started my business, I was actually on Natalie Miles' podcast, right?
Yeah.
She had me on, and then she launched a course that she listed me as a resource under called like Heal Your Ancestor Story, I think is what it's called. But I did that course of hers, and it has you like go through this meditation And it's like a guided meditation where you go like up your family tree, up your maternal lineage, and like on each branch, the next person up in your lineage like gives you a gift. It's like the gift that they gave you for coming through this line, you know?
Love.
And go like after I did that course, I immediately called my mom and we had, I think, the most open and honest conversation we've ever had. She has a lot of trauma, I know, from her parents, and her mom, I don't think, really wanted to be a mom, but it was the 50s and that's what you did. So she had kids,
Yeah.
and I think it was pretty damaging to my mom because my mom has always wanted to be a mom her whole life. She's just like, she's so tender. My mom is so tender and so emotionally supportive. And we went through a lot. You know, I think I mentioned in the last episode that we went through like a lot of financial struggle when I was in high
Yeah.
school. And it really kind of damaged our relationship because I moved out at 17 because I felt like I couldn't live at home and do the things that I wanted to do. And she was dealing with a lot of stuff that she didn't know how to process, like physically and mentally. So that really damaged our relationship. And my first husband, my first marriage, they did not get along. And it also damaged our relationship. It's, you know, spoilers out there. Your mom's not always wrong
Yeah.
about your partner.
That's true. That's true.
Not always wrong. So yeah, that after I got out of that marriage, that with Jenna, did this healing, we had this big long conversation. And I think like she's like, I just basically waited around for you to come around. And when you came around, she's like, I gave you everything that you wanted, everything that you asked for, because she wanted to like keep our relationship versus, you know, accuse and blame. And then I had a lot of bitterness and resentment because I felt like they never showed up for me, my parents.
Mm-hmm.
And more so like my mom, she was the homemaker. She was
Yeah.
home. My dad went to work. We'll talk about the father wound a different time because I feel like
Yeah.
there's a lot to talk about there too.
Yes.
But having this conversation with my mom really helped me realize that, like, as much as she played a role in our tumultuous relationship, I also played a role in it. And I think
Yeah.
being able to talk about that as adult women helps so much. Like, the mother wound can be rectified. It can be healed if you talk to your mother in a way of like, this was my role. And then
Mm-hmm.
it kind of, especially for older generations, mirrors to them that it's okay to accept your role, I guess, in the troubled relationship. What do you think about that? Like, have you had those kind of conversations with your mom?
Yeah. I think like a lot of what I realized with my mom is like, you know, my parents got divorced and she was a single mom. And there was a lot of like stress, but also a lot of identity around that and a lot of like struggle and sort of a pride around being able to do this for my daughter. And I think that was kind of like intense for me because a lot of the times my mom would want to talk to me like a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't handle that, you know? I
Yeah.
couldn't handle like being a friend and hearing her say things about my dad and the divorce and everything. I was just like, I need separation. I think that was like, it was hard for me to like almost like have a mother. Like we kind of became friends and I didn't really have this like separation between that and my divorced parents and what they were going through. Like she really just needed to talk to a friend about some of those things. And I'm sure she did, but sometimes she would talk to me about it and I found that really hard.
Yeah.
You
When did
know,
you realize that that was kind of a wound or a wounding aspect of your relationship?
I remember like I must have been in high school because I was living in Nevada at the time. And she and I went out to lunch and she was talking to me about something and it came up or whatever. And I finally found my voice and I was just like, I can't hear this stuff about my dad. Like, you know, I'm sure that what he did to you was awful. And that's been a real struggle for me too, is that, you know, I love both my parents and I know that, you know, they have their own things and it was hard to like almost like take sides, you know? And so I just remember being in high school at this lunch and just being like, you have to find somebody else to talk to about this with. You know, I have to have this separation because, you know, I still need you as my mother right now. And I don't need you to like like, I think we can talk more about that stuff now as we're a little bit older, but when I was in high school, it was too much, you know?
Mhm.
And I've always felt like, actually recently, as I got a lot more empathy for my mom, you know, as she told me like how, you know, how my dad treated her, and everything that went on in their marriage. Like, it really makes me have a lot of empathy for her in terms of what she went through and what she put up with. And that a lot of what she says is that she left him, you know, for me, right, and to have a better life for me, and to not let me grow up in a certain situation. So yeah, high school, I would say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
When you're reaching that like emotional intelligence level and you start realizing that they can't really mother you anymore. Like
Yeah, and that they're like people and humans,
what
and like,
what a weird concept.
yeah, like not on this little pedestal of like perfectness. But I mean, I think too, like my mom, she took me to Weight Watchers when I was 9 years old, right? Because again, she was single mom, you know, she was going to Weight Watchers. And I think like that probably wasn't the healthiest thing for me in my relationship with food and body image. Um, but so I was kind of like her little buddy, and whatever she was processing through, I kind of came along for the ride. So I had to do a lot of separation work of like what is hers and what is mine, and what do I need to work on. But she also gifted me a lot of my tools. Like, she gave me one of my first card decks, and she really opened me up to that spiritual side and really made it safe for me to explore it. And it's even fun now, like we're talking about it a lot more. And she talks to me about the synchronicities of the universe and the meditations and the things that she sees. And so it's kind of nice that we can kind of come back and have a common ground to talk about things that aren't like my divorce, like with my father, right? Like that whole thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What would you say that that's like the biggest gift that your mom gave you?
Really, what I want to say about my mom is like, she will do anything for me.
Mhm.
Like, she, like having a Cancerian mom, like, she is like, don't you worry about anything. Like, I will take care of you. I will love you till the end of time. Like, I am always here for you, no matter what, no matter what. And so that just feeling of knowing she's always going to be there for me has actually helped me like stand on my own 2 feet even more so. And when I moved from Seattle, I mean, when I moved out to Seattle, I didn't have a job. And so I worked for her, and she paid me, which was really lovely. But it was just like, she was so helpful. She helped us buy our home, you know, like, hello, very Cancerian, but like, she's just so giving and she's so loving. And so I just really learned that, like, you know, I can do anything with her love and support.
Yeah, I get that. My
Yeah.
mom's a Cancer rising, so she
Oh,
embodies a lot of those. She's a Taurus with a Cancer rising.
well,
So,
Tauruses are pretty like family oriented anyway, and
yeah,
earthy and grounded. So
yeah, she is.
do you feel like when you healed your mother wound, you were able to like connect more with her on like other topics, even around this like spiritual stuff?
Oh my gosh, yes. Like I facilitate Psych K. So if you don't know
Mhm.
what Psych K is, you can check out my website, intuitivelynatalie.com. I have like a ton of information out there about it, but it's basically like a set of processes that allows you to access your subconscious mind and reprogram or transform the like limiting conditioning and trauma within your subconscious. So when I learned how to do that, I included her in and I was super excited. I did the Heal Your Ancestor Story course, which I like really hope that's what it's called. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called.
It sounds awesome.
Yeah, I did that after I knew Psych K. So I had already done a lot of subconscious shifting work around my relationship with my mom.
Yeah.
Because in my family, and I feel like in a lot of maternal lines, just because of societal conditioning, um, daughters are treated differently. And
Mm,
I've talked to my mom about this like ad nauseum, especially in that conversation that I had with her that was so wonderful and open. I felt like I was treated differently than my brothers.
yeah.
I had two brothers, one older, one younger. And I felt like they were maybe coddled more or required more, but that was also a pattern in my family line was that the men required more like emotional support. It's like
Oh,
a theme that
wow.
has been carried through and the women are very independent.
Wow.
So my mom treated me 180 degrees differently than my brothers. Like if my mom was in a bad mood, she maybe would be quiet around boys, around my brothers or maybe even my dad. But if my mom was in a bad mood, like I knew it. She didn't talk to me for 3 months once, because she was projecting something that had happened when I was in high school onto me that was not necessarily my fault. And
Yeah.
that really damaged our relationship. So I feel like that's played a huge role in my relationship with my mom. Like, as much as she's been able to be open with me is the amount that I've been able to open with her, all of the good and all of the not so great, like all of the uncomfortable. I
Yeah.
feel like there's this thread in our maternal line that allows women to just be open with each other. So I really enjoyed that.
That
And
is cool.
yeah, and I think I said in the first episode, our first podcast episode,
Just a few days ago.
just a few days ago, that she didn't want to break my spirit. So like my mom has always seen
Yeah.
me for who I am. And I feel like there are no doubts that I chose the right mom, to come through and become this person.
Yes. Yeah. And, as you're saying this, I definitely have had long chats with my mom and heard about her upbringing. And a lot of the experiences she tells me about, I was like, oh my God, these are like men being so inappropriate with you in so many ways, right? For whether it's just trapping her up against a wall or pinching her butt as she works in a restaurant or whatever, and she grew up in kind of like the 60s era. But it's like I definitely am working through that too, right? Like unwanted attention from men, and just even when I was like at a different body size, like the amount of attention I got made me feel really uncomfortable. And I just kind of keep thinking about that of like, we pass these things down on, or we can see how our mother works with it, and then we either get it to work with it as well, or we don't get it at all. But it's like I can see that it's like we're both working out how to like be around that energy of men, right? And be around that sort of like what is it, that word, lascivious or whatever, where they're just like a bit gross, or you kind of like just like leer at you and whatever. And it's just that feeling of like, how can you just walk around in yourself as a woman and not like draw in that attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
like if she's drawing that in and I'm drawing that in, what are we learning about that, right? That standing up for ourselves. And she grew up in Australia, and often her mom would say to her, well, you can't do that because you're a girl.
mm-hmm.
Boys can do that, but you can't do that. And then when I went to visit, I remember my cousin, both my cousins are girls. I have one boy cousin too, but the three of us wanted to go camping because these boys were going camping. And my grandmother said, you can't go camping there because you're girls. And literally boys the same age were going camping, and we're like, who's going to come out in the middle of the Australian bush? And I'm like, nobody, it's totally fine. And so I could feel my mom's like frustration around that. And I definitely have a little bit of that too. But I think she did a lot of work to really clear that I can do whatever I want. It doesn't matter if I'm a boy or a girl.
Yeah, holy conditioning. But
Yeah.
I was just thinking on my walk this morning, I went on a walk on the around my neighborhood this morning, and I was thinking that we were going to talk about mother stuff today, which we decided about 5 minutes before we started the podcast.
That's how we roll, people.
But I was just thinking how like we came through, we're going to talk about timelines, but we came through at a certain time, to help our mothers and our parents in general expand their awareness of what's possible for them. And in saying that, like, our kids are going to come through and expand our awareness in ways that we're not even, like, I can't even fathom what the world's going to be like that my kid's going to show me,
Yeah.
But we're coming in this time where we're fully equipped to like heal generational trauma. Like, I feel like that is such a theme for like millennials and Gen Xers. And I think it's because we all have like Pluto and Scorpio.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We
So
want
that
to
like,
fix those deep wounds.
oh my gosh, yes. In ways that like our parents never knew they could.
Yeah. How do you feel you have like elevated the consciousness of your mom?
Learning all of this, like spiritual stuff, this intuitive, this manifestation, create your reality. Like I'm very lucky that my mom is so open-minded. I can talk to her about anything.
Yeah.
And she takes me seriously, but she didn't take me seriously until I like subconsciously shifted for it that like I am serious.
Interesting.
Like, incredible. Yeah. Cause I mean, experience what you attract. So I had to realize that like I didn't think that I was credible. And then once I shifted that, like she thought I was credible. And now we're like totally into it. And we talk about this all the time. And I am so proud of her for her childhood, that she went through like cycles of abuse and
Mhm.
all of it. Like she was shot at a parade in San Antonio when she was a kid and was expected to be fine. And that's not fine. And nobody came to like find her, like a neighbor found her. Like it was just like the amount of trauma that my mom experienced growing up, and like how loving and open and wonderful she is. She's definitely like before her time. She has a more progressive mentality than most, I would say, of the boomer generation.
Yeah. Okay, boomer.
But I but I love having like these conversations with my mom because she is so open, and all of the work that I have done on myself, it's like vibrationally she has kept up with it. Like it's not only
Yeah.
healed me, it's also healed her. And I know moving forward, having kids, they're not gonna come in with these cycles of generational trauma because like I'm doing the work, my mom's doing the work, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's a good point. I think a lot about like having kids and what that's going to be like, and what mother stuff is going to come up for me. And I've been trying to do a lot of that work with my mom now. And I think for me, it was interesting because like my mom and I were like really close. We were those best friends, since I was like 9, right? And we lived together until I went off to college. And then I really did kind of like live on my own for a long time and became this own person, and then kind of like struggled a bit with my relationship with her because I
Mm-hmm.
was like not just kind of following along. I wasn't people pleasing anymore. I wasn't kind of like, I was deconditioning myself. So we kind of had that like rough patch. And I feel like, especially me moving out here, and that was one of my reasons for moving from, used to live in Ohio out to Seattle where my mom lives, was to be closer to her and have a close relationship with her. And I think working for her was really hard because even though it was great, again, to have that support, it was like I was in work mode and my mom would like bring up like family stuff, and I would have to like go teach another yoga class after seeing her. And I was like, Mom, like, I know I'm your daughter, but like right now I'm your yoga teacher. So, can we not talk about that family trauma? Like, because I've got to go teach. So for me, the choice was to have a little bit of separation and then to say, let's become friends again, and let's just be friends and see each other more as friends than as like mother daughter. And now it's fun because she too will call me, and like there's nothing sweeter than like I'll pick up the phone and my mom will be like, oh, I just had to tell you that da 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 da, and then this, and then I got this signed, and oh my god, and she's like so excited. She's like, or in my meditation today. So it's just really sweet. It's really sweet to see her being able to like talk with this more about, talk about the spiritual stuff even more so with me. I think we did a little bit, but maybe she kind of left me on my own. And now we have a much more engaging conversation. But I would definitely say like my relationship ebbed and flowed with her. And like, as I got more separation, and then I would come back into like, how do I want to relate? And there was times when I didn't think I would ever get it back to what it was. But when I realized I really actually just had to evolve my relationship with her as we both evolved, right?
Yeah, I feel like there's always that kind of transition period where like you've made these leaps forward in your own healing, and then it's like you're kind of waiting for them to catch up, and it might be irritating to the other person because you're mirroring back to them what they're not maybe necessarily ready to face yet.
Yeah. Oh,
One of my
yeah.
favorite quotes ever is, you can only meet people where they're at. Like,
Yeah.
so you kind of, it can feel a little uncomfortable if you've vibrationally ascended, or you've like raised your frequency off of like the healing work you've done, and then you go back around family who hasn't necessarily realized that that's healing that needs to be done on their end. But then the beauty of that weird transition period is that you are being a mirror to them of like what's
Yeah.
possible, and
It's
instead of
true.
using it to like drive a wedge in your relationship, you can use it to, I don't, open up the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what I think is also interesting is to know what your mother's mother wound is, right?
I can tell you.
And
I know what that is.
okay, what is your mom's mother wound?
She did not want to be a mom. Like, I don't know if that's in her awareness consciously, but like I feel that for her on such an intuitive level.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
think of the like subconscious recourse that kind of a frequency has on your children,
Yeah.
but I call her my Mimi.
Yeah.
I mean, she grew up in this time, in the 50s when she was an adult. It was only great for straight white men in that time.
Yeah.
Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
It was not great for women. It was
Yeah.
not great. It was terrible for people of color.
Hmm.
So she felt, I think, like that was the thing that you did, keeping up with the Joneses. I don't know that she knew she had a choice.
Yeah. And so that is like your mom's wound, is like maybe just feeling not wanted.
Absolutely. I think that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine, because kids know. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you say it out loud or if you're not aware of it. They're going to absorb it.
100%. And here's the thing, talking to spirit babies, they know instantaneously. Like they know from the minute they're on earth. And they tell me that all the time, and I actually have worked with quite a few people that it's actually one of the hardest things for me to tell people. I kind of like swallow and then I just go, well, they just, they didn't really actually want to have kids. And it's so resonating with clients because they're like, I knew that. I knew that. And that's a hard one to work through too. But if you think about it, it's like, it's the pressures and it's what we do. And like the gift is that we really do have a lot more choice of like having our own jobs, not having kids in so many different ways. Like our parents and grandparents didn't really have that as available and as acceptable and as supported as we do now.
Yeah,
Don't you
societally.
think?
Yeah,
Right?
I think we came in at a time where we knew we would be able to flex.
Yeah. Yeah. And like for my mom, I've heard her say this a lot, but so she has two older sisters. My oldest aunt had polio. So she required like a lot of attention medically. They lived out on a farm. So it'd be like, long hauls to the hospital. So there's a lot of attention on that child. And then the second sister was just like a mirror of my grandmother. So just like my grandfather loved her. She looked like my grandmother, da, da, da. Here comes my mom with red hair. She's a fiery little like third child. And then 6 years later, my uncle was born. And my mom always says like, oh, the golden child, right? So this thing with men and the preferences and how they're like, more celebrated has been there, like, since, he came in. But what she said, I remember she said this, she's like, I overheard a conversation once where they're like, Michelle's fine. Like she can take care of herself. And like, you think about that and how old was she when she heard that? And she's, here she is in her 70s now and she's still repeating that story of like, okay, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm on my own, like, that kind of stuff. And so she's very much been this like very self-sufficient, works for herself, created her own business, da, da, da. And so the benefit of that wound for me is I also have this very entrepreneurial spirit because that's all I've seen with my mom. She's always pretty much worked for herself and owned her own business since I've been in high school. And it's incredible when I sit back and go, she created this from nothing, right? She really just let this flourish and she's about to retire. And I think about like the gratitude I have for having that as an example, as a spirit of just like, and she's always said to me, you've chosen me. You chose me as your mother. Like she said that like long before I even know this. And I thought, oh, that's sweet. Okay. And I'm like, oh shit, I fucking did.
I actually did.
I was like, I was like, you knew that, mom. Right. But she would just say that sort of in that loving way with no sort of thing about the spirit babies or anything like that. But here we go. Right. It just comes into my knowing.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, it doesn't matter where you stand on your relationship with your mom. I think there's an undeniable truth out there that you pick your parents. I
Yeah.
mean, your mother, maybe first and foremost,
Yeah.
for what they can teach you. Like, I understand that some people have really seemingly horrible relationships with their mom or their mom
Yes.
abandoned them, but like your soul chose your mom specifically for those hurts so that you could heal them. Like they always give you something. Like my biggest qualm with my parents was that I felt like they never showed up for me. They would show up to my brother's games. They never came to my games. They missed my graduation from college. Like I just felt like they never showed up. And I know that's a hurt. I say that lightly. I know that's still like a wound for my mom. She feels really terrible that she missed my graduation, but it was something I had to go through because I am independent. And so it's like my soul chose these wounds to show me, I don't know, like how strong I am, or like I was in some way calling that in.
Yeah.
So if you think about like your hurts, your mother wound, your personal mother wound, it
Yeah.
always gives you something. It's like it really is happening for your greatest good.
Yeah.
I chose parents who kind of took a step back with me because I was always going to move out at 17. Always.
Yeah.
I was always going to get a job at 16, like always. That was
Yeah.
always going to be the plan. And I chose the parents that were going to be able to foster that best.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like, I see this too a lot in sessions. Like when I talk about spirit babies too, it's like, you know, if there's like uncomfortableness or fighting or whatever, you know, discord within the families, like the spirit babies often prompt you to like heal those. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you reopen the relationship, because what I've experienced a lot of times is a lot of these are, you know, hard boundaries with some of these parents, you know, to not really engage because of so many reasons. But it is so important to be like, you got to just meet them where they're at, right? You got to understand that, you know, this is where their soul is. This is their level of consciousness. This is their level of expansion. And if they're not willing to budge or move, we have to accept that. And that's really, I think, hard for people. But the minute that you accept it, the relationship can shift and change. And, you know, I remember some clients having like some real hard deal breakers with their parents. And I'm like, here's the thing, if you can at least just see it from their side, if you can at least just meet them there, let's just see what the energy happens. Let's just see how that changes it. But yeah, it's I think the people who like don't want to have anything to do with their parents or mothers especially always fascinate me, because I remember my personal feeling is like, oh, you should repair that, it's your mom, whatever. But whenever I'm channeling, a lot of times spirit's just like, no, you're absolutely right to hold that boundary, you know, this, and that is their work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to choose to hold a boundary of separation with your mother, whoo,
That's big.
that's ultimate. And the friend that I'm thinking of that's doing this, she is a Cancer. So of
Mm-hmm.
course she's calling that in. And sometimes it's hard for her to like deal with. And I can see the pain that it causes. And, you know, it affects the grandkids and everybody else. But at the same time, it's like that soul is like, I gotta stay true to my boundaries, regardless of if she's my mother or not, right? Because there's so much like, she brought you into this world and da 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 da.
Stigma.
Oh, her stuff, blah 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 blah.
Mm.
And it is an important relationship, but sometimes that relationship might be holding those boundaries, right? And learning how to say no to somebody that we're expected to say yes to, right?
Yes. Oh, you and I have talked about, I feel like the killer of relationships is expectation. And you and I
Mm-hmm.
have talked about that. I mean, your like mother-daughter relationship included. Like you have to communicate your expectations. And also, this is going to be a hard pill to swallow, but your mother is not responsible for meeting your needs after
What?
a certain point. Like it's, you have to mother yourself. It's like that mother wound exists because these are things that your soul needed to learn how to give itself. Or,
Yeah.
you know, like mothering yourself is also like a topic we could like dive into a little bit. Like how do you mother
Yeah.
yourself based off of like the needs that weren't met or the expectations that you had growing up?
Yeah. I celebrate myself a lot, right?
Mm.
So I was a pretty like type A achiever. And so straight A's and good grades and everything and achieving at things was almost kind of like what I did. It was kind of expected. And I didn't get a lot of like, woohoo, yeah. Like I had friends that got like money when they got straight A's. And I was like, where's my
Yeah, I
$100?
didn't get
Hello.
that.
Yeah. I was like, huh, okay. And so those like little things where it's like you want those rewards, you want that recognition, you know. And so for me, being such an achiever mindset, I had to like stop and like celebrate. And like, you know, like my husband and I had this like champagne in our fridge forever, and we're like, we're gonna open it, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. And he often reminds me, he's like, I think we need to like celebrate that, you know. I think we need to like, this is like, I'm like, but it's Tuesday and it's really good champagne. And he's like, so, and I'm like,
Bucket.
right, yeah, like it's Tuesday, we met a goal, let's celebrate. And so
Celebrate.
it's that little bit of just like, you know, giving myself my own gold stars and first place ribbons, and just really kind of like, you know, allowing myself to be like, you're so great at what you do. Like, you're so amazing, especially when it's kind of hard for people to understand this work for me. You know, like, I think I'll get like, I texted my mom, I was like, I taught people how to channel their higher self today. And she's like, cool. You know, me, awesome. And it's like, okay, that's fair. There's probably like, you know, not much like, how do we chat about this? But I think we'll get there, you know,
Yeah.
as I talk to her more about it and stuff like that. What about you?
How I mother myself.
Yeah.
I give myself lots of space.
Mm.
My mom taught me a lot about emotions
Yeah.
and like personal responsibility because I think she just wanted so badly to be like heard and seen and valued and kind of projected that onto us. I always grew up a people pleaser, you know, feeling responsible for other people's feelings and things. And
Mm-hmm.
she allowed me to put those boundaries in place and to really see that I am absolutely not responsible for anybody's emotions. And like that has shifted our relationship quite a bit too, is obviously me doing some psych K. That I'm only responsible for myself. That has actually changed my relationship with everybody, being a
Yeah.
recovering people pleaser. But I mother myself by like boundaries and reminding myself that like I cannot make anybody feel a certain way. Like if you're having an emotional reaction, that's your trigger, that's your thing to look at. If I'm the one that brought that to you, then that's the way it was supposed to be delivered, but I'm still not
Yeah.
responsible for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of times too, I would not have conversations with my mom because I was afraid about how she would react or how she would respond,
Yeah.
and you know, like I would cause that in her to like have a bad day or whatever it was. And I learned also through my work that it's like, yeah, that's not really your responsibility. And then my therapist pointed out to me that she's like, oh, there has to be a perfect time for you to say something, because I'd be like, oh, well, it's 2 days before her birthday, or like, oh, it's too close to Christmas, or yeah, I just had like all these excuses of like why I couldn't have important conversations with her. And then it was just like, you know, like when somebody tells you something and you have an emotional reaction, they didn't plan that, and they didn't say like,
Mhm.
how's next Tuesday for some deep emotional work. You know, it's like it does come out of the blue. And so I had to release that and realize that like it was important for me to say what I needed to say as soon as possible, and then let her kind of deal with her own emotions and feelings. And I kept trying to like craft it too much and make it too perfect and too nice and it's never going to be that way. It's never going to be a perfect time to like talk about something hard and difficult, you know, just isn't.
No,
I mean,
no.
obviously there's like better situations, right? You want to be present eye to eye. But I mean, you know, like not on a subway or something kind of like crazy, but you know, there's no like perfect time.
Okay, don't be at like a sporting event and be like, I don't think you ever really loved me. Like that's probably not the right time.
Pass the popcorn and some love.
Also, I'm a little thirsty, but I don't think you love me. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Don't do it at a sporting event. But yeah, I mean, there's many times when I had opportunities that I just totally chickened out because I was so worried about the reaction and,
Yeah.
you know,
Trying to meet people's expectations.
yeah. And I think also being psychic, I kind of sometimes have to check in with like, is that my ego's fear of how they're going to react? Or do
Mm.
I actually know that's how they're going to react? Or, you know, I have to kind of like balance that out a bit. And that was a struggle for me until now. I just realized I've just got to say it. And, you know, I always try to come from a place of love, right? Because it's important, but it's just necessary now to get it out and say it, you know,
Yeah,
and work through your stuff.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about wounds with our mother. We've talked
Yeah.
about mothering ourselves.
Yes.
We are also on the journey to becoming mothers
Whoop, whoop.
ourselves.
I know. Shimmy,
Is
shimmy.
there something like what is okay here? What is
Yeah.
one thing your mom taught you or how she mothered you that you are going to pass along? And
Okay.
what is one thing you're not going to pass along?
Ooh, okay. What I am going to pass on is the acceptance of the spiritual gifts, right?
Mm.
Is talking about this. And I'm actually like really excited to like see her with my daughter and like doing this stuff together and like pulling cards. And so just the openness of this gift and that it's part of our lineage and that my grandmother had it, my mother has it, I have it, my daughter and son will likely have it. And just being really open with that, like giving them stuff early on for sure. I want to encourage and support that. And I think what I probably won't pass on is the food stuff, is the food
Mm-hmm.
issues, you know, the dieting and the body image and that kind of stuff. And I'm really working on that myself. And I know she's been working on it in her own way too, but it's not the way that works for me. So I really want to understand what that means for me and then pass that on to my kids. I mean, I've just been like laying naked and like touching myself and just being like, I'm so beautiful and caressing myself and like just getting comfortable with my body. That's an image for you guys. But like this just thing of just like, like I remember like there's like people who are like, I hate my knees. You know, I'm like, your knees? What did your like, knees are weird. Who has cute knees? Like they look weird. Knees are weird.
Baby faces in them. Have you
Yeah.
seen those knees?
Yes. And they're all knobby and they're
Yeah.
ashy and they're all the things. And I just remember like people saying like they didn't like certain body parts, or like, sometimes she'll say like, oh, I don't like my arms, or I don't like this or whatever. And I'm just like, oh, I'm not passing that on. Whatever shape, size, look about your body, I want you to love every inch of it. So
Yeah. Shame is
that's what I want
conditioned.
to do. Yeah.
It's
What
so
about you?
conditioned.
What are you going to bring from your mama and what are you going to release?
My mom is like the queen of emotional support. Like, I
Oh,
am so grateful that I could have talked to her about literally anything, and there was no judgment on her part. So I'm
beautiful.
excited to bring that forward because I really feel like we're going to have probably non-binary children. I don't care.
Yeah.
And I'm just excited to have that like open line of communication with them. Like,
So good.
I want them to be able to feel like anything you come to me with, like, I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
Like, that is what I'm here for.
I love
Definitely
that.
going to bring that forward. Yeah, I was never scared to tell my mom shit. Like, I told her everything. And I think
I
what I'm
didn't.
not, I was also really good. I never snuck out in high school. Like, I was good. So,
I definitely like confessed to my mom later. I was like,
yeah.
FYI, I did this, I did this. And sometimes she'd be like, Jessica. Like she was like, how did I not know this? But yes. Okay. I
Yeah.
love that. I feel like drawn in, even you just saying that. I want to like
I,
tell you my life
I
secret.
just love it. Yeah. What I'm not bringing forward. I don't know. What am I not bringing forward for my mom? I guess it will never be my children's responsibility to monitor or mitigate my moods.
Mm,
And having that like personal sovereignty, emotional awareness of myself, I think is just going to better our relationship. That I don't think my mom even, I know she didn't know
yeah.
that like she was making it our responsibility, but like we came in very empathic, very sensitive to emotions because that's what we needed. That's also what my mom needed,
Yeah.
is that kind
Yeah.
of like blind love and support, and how can I help you with this and what can I do to make it better. And I think moving forward, I want my children to know that like I can be upset or mad or sad and it's
Mm.
not their responsibility.
Yeah. You know what? I hear that so much in sessions and for the guides. And I think it kind of scares parents, but the advice is be sad in front of your kid
Mm-hmm.
and then tell them, mommy's sad right now, or mommy's angry, or mommy's frustrated, or whatever. And because then you get to model feeling that emotion, talking about that and letting the people around you know what state you're in. And then they
Mm-hmm.
get to watch you process it because your kids know when you're upset.
Oh yeah, they
Like, and
feel
like
it.
clients will be like, my kid just came out to me and said, I love you so much, mommy. And I'm like, because you needed that. I mean, yes,
Yeah,
they're cute and adorable, but like when it feels like, how do they know I needed to hear that? I'm like, because they know.
they're in tune.
They're so in tune. So I kind of want to ask this question, which is like even more into like dun dun dun, but like mother-in-laws. So you've had two, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay. But like, do
um
you see any similarities in your mother work with your mother-in-laws? Or are there different things coming up with them? Or is that too scandalous to talk about?
no, never. I mean, this is no such thing as normal. There is no
Hi,
subject.
mom. Hi,
Yeah, there is no
mother-in-law.
subject we can't talk about. My mother-in-laws, plural, have been wonderful. My ex-husband actually had his mother. I didn't know her very well, but she was always very loving and supportive every time we were around. And then his stepmother, she was in my dream last night. That's so funny that you're bringing this up.
Ooh.
Loved her so intuitive, so into the woo. She's actually the first person that exposed me to tarot decks and like pulled a tarot card. Like, love her. She is
cool.
so independent, fiercely independent. And actually, when we were getting divorced, I was so concerned about losing my relationship with her.
Yeah.
So I like took her to lunch and it didn't end well, but I like took her to lunch and I was like, I really, I know this is no reflection on you. Like, I don't know. She was just such a wonderful person. And then my current mother-in-law, Jenna's mom, she's such a mom, and like everything is always together, and I have this for you. And she's the kind of mom that just like has everything that you need. And it's just so nice. I've had really good experiences with mother-in-laws, I think.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What about you?
My mother-in-law has the birthday the day before my mother. Wow. So Cancerians. And so it's kind of funny because we're always like, birthday cards, go, and I would say too, like my mother-in-law, she's the mother of 5, she has a set of twins. She's unstoppable. Like the amount of strength that she has, what she's been through in her life. I like look at her and I'm like, how are you not tired? Like, how can you just like keep going? I'm like, I mean, and she's a little bit older now. I've known her for like 19 years now. But it's just like, it's incredible. But I think also like, she's a very like Cancerian. She's probably the matriarch of the family, of her whole like extended family, So it's just like amazing to like watch her work and like do all this stuff. But she's like so loving to me, and we have a lot of fun together when I'm not getting caught up in my shit. Yeah. That's what I'll say. Because like she will definitely say things and I definitely feel triggers, and I have worked a lot through that. And I think what I did was I like kind of distanced myself. Right. And now that I actually realize that triggers are for me and are gifts for me, I'm leaning back into that more. So it'll be nice to kind of like, again, sort of like a rekindling of my relationship with her and just not being so caught up, because I think I wanted to be like a perfect daughter-in-law and, do all the things and fit in and, meet all the expectations. And then I just realized like, that's just not me. And so part of it was like, will you accept the true me, right? Because when you people please and when you like, I used to call it like pretend, like pretending, it's a double-edged sword, because not only do you have to like go through the learning of like, oh shit, I did that to myself, but then everybody that you've been like holding that image up for, you have to like readjust, right? And just be like, sorry, that's not me anymore. And I was terrified of that, but now that I'm more confident in who I am, I feel like I can just go and re-relate to them. And I had this friend of mine once say in one of my like shamanic classes, they're like, your mother-in-law is going to be your greatest teacher. And that's all they said. And I was like, what do you mean? When people say like those like little like nuggets,
just
like,
a little bomb.
And then I'm like, oh, right. Like if I can accept her and allow her to be her and me to be me and like that's what it is. Right. So it's been helpful actually.
Yeah. Mother-in-laws, they're not exempt from triggering the mother wound.
Yeah. Right. And then you can kind of see like the mother wounds in your partners as you get to know your mother-in-laws more. And you're just kind of like, oh, okay. I see that. So yeah. And we all have them, mother wounds. Okay.
Oh yeah.
We all have them. Some are bigger than others. Some are deeper than others. Some are longer than others, but I think we all have them. And so that is freeing for me to be like, I'm sure I'm going to gift some to my kiddos,
Right. Because that's what they're signing up for. That's their work.
I'll just be like, you signed up for this.
That's exactly what I'm going to say to my children. I don't even think for a second. I'm not going to remind them that they chose to be here.
You are calling in this experience right now, young lady.
This is all you. Yeah.
Young lady, right?
Yeah.
Oh
right.
God, I hope I don't say that. There's like some moms who like when they're mad, they'll like use your full name or anything like that.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Elizabeth Marie, get yourself down here. Yeah, I think I'm gonna be a cool mom.
Yeah,
you're gonna be a cool mom. I hope I'm not gonna
have a cool mom.
I'm like, part of me is like, what is she gonna bring up? What are my kids gonna bring up? What are they gonna see in me? And then part of me is like, just cross that bridge when you get to it, because I'm trying to do a lot of clearing work before they get here. Like I feel like I'm like tidying up the house, like, oh, they're going to be here in 20 minutes, like quick. But it's like, that's not really a deep cleaning, you know? like the shit's gonna like bust out of the cupboard once they go. So I'm trying to like take it piece by piece. A side note, I definitely think I like cleaned houses in a life, and my mother cleaned houses in a life because we both had this like strong aversion to like cleaning.
Interesting.
Yeah. So she passed that on
Ooh.
to me.
I bet it has something to do with your expression. Like you're like I bet you were suppressed in your environment and you couldn't express yourself and like your mess is your expression.
It probably is.
Mhm.
Yeah, because like my dad was super neat, and
Mhm.
why was he super neat? Because my grandparents were ministers, Methodist ministers, and they lived in the church house. And so that was always spotless because people could come over at any time. So it's like, and it's kind of funny because I am like my mother at times, and I'm like totally messy and things everywhere and blah, 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 blah. And then we used to call it a cook cleaning, which is my dad's side of the family, where I would like clean everything up and really like clean it and do a cook cleaning, which is like that organized, deep, thoughtful cleaning. So it's just funny when you think about like how many things your parents have gifted you.
So many things. So
Yeah,
many things. Okay. I think we have exhausted the mother wound.
I think
I
we
am
have.
excited. Next time we could talk about the father wound if it feels right.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Is that
Okay.
the air blowers are coming in?
I hear them.
Can you hear them? Okay.
Okay, so we'll wrap it up for this week.
Let's do.
How have you been connecting or receiving signs from like your higher self, your intuition, or your spirit guides in the last couple days? Like, what have you noticed?
That's a good question. What have I noticed lately? I feel like what I've noticed more so recently is like I will pull a card, um, and then I'll just get like a download from them. Is this horrible?
I can
It's
hear
so
them. I don't
loud.
know what it is.
Yeah, they're like up in my business.
Oh my God.
But no, but I'll pull a card and just really get like a beautiful like additional message, right? So like,
What are they trying to
oh
tell
my
you
God,
now?
what are they trying to tell me now? They're trying to tell us to like laugh and roll with it. That
I'm going with
we're
it.
a casual podcast and we could get upset about things being noisy. And I probably should have closed my door. But like this feeling of like, they're even just showing up right now. Like, see, now it goes away, right? You call it in just to be laughing and silly and realize that like it's okay if stuff
Yeah.
shows up because like, don't let that stop you from doing what you want to do. But no, I've been pulling cards lately and just been getting sort of like this download and this additional messaging. So I'm gonna mute myself, and then we're gonna see what Natalie's up to. What have you learned this week? How are your guides showing up?
I'm dying from the air blowers. That is hilarious. And I love that they like came in when we're talking about like spirit guide messaging and your guides are like, we're here in the form of an air blower. um, I haven't really gotten quiet in the past couple days. I think I mentioned it in the last episode that like I'm working on this intuition course to help you like connect and grow your strength and your connection to your intuition, all that good stuff. And I like the next module that I'm going to work on is spirit guides, and I've been so resistant to it, and I'm not sure why. I think I think it's just going to open me up in a new way, and it's going to have to like I'm going to have to get really quiet and like really focus and hone in on it, and I just haven't taken the time to like dedicate my full attention to it yet. So I feel like my guides are like in the waiting. Like they're ready when I am. I feel that like I know that they're around. I can always feel them around. But yeah, I feel like they're just waiting, and I'm getting to the place where I'm like ready to like jump in. But it's nice to know that they're there and they're like supportive from the wings.
Do they wave to you like that?
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, they do.
Um, I'm gonna see if I need to close that. I'm gonna close it really quick. Let's just close my door. Hold on.
Okay, all better.
Oh, and of course it like stops, right? But yeah, I have to like work around that working from home, right? All
This
those
is
little
real
things.
life.
Yeah. But it's funny because my guides were just like, sometimes you just need to close the door, Jessica.
Oh my God. And with that, we're going to end it. Sometimes you just need to close the door.
We're gonna close it.
Okay, it's closed on the mother wound.
For
um,
now.
for now. Okay, be sure to rate and review this podcast if you like this episode. You can reach back out to us at no such thing as normalpod@gmail.com. If there's anything you want to add about your mother wound, we'd love to hear.
Yeah.
And as always, Jess and I, we have openings in our schedule coming up, lots of availability to help you kind of pilfer through and heal your own mother wound.
For sure.
Oh,
We'd love
I
to
don't
help
actually
you.
don't even think we talked about it last time. Where can people find you, Jess?
Yeah. So I'm really on the Instagram. I am at McJaguar, McJaguar. I hope I spelled that right, but MC and then Jaguar, like the cat. And that's where I play. I have fun there. And then I have a really great email list. So if you're a client, you can always sign up for that as you sign up for a session, but you can also just sign up and get on my email list. I do exclusive Oracle card readings in there, which everybody loves. It's like the most clicked on. So more of those to come, but that's where I play on the gram. What about you? Where are you located?
I'm at Intuitively Natalie on Instagram. I'm there quite a bit. And then you can find me at intuitivelynatalie.com. Yeah, that's where all my booking and everything is through. I also have an email list, but I'm like pivoting how I'm using it. So
Can I tell you a funny story about emails? By the way, our dear friend Megan from Sage Sisters podcast, woo woo, hello. She was like, I was wanting to start my email, and God, it took me so long to do it. And she's like, I love Natalie's email. And I was like, what is it that you love about it? Tell me everything. Because I was in this place of like, I need to write an email. And, I think what I like about your email is that it's very fun. It's very casual. And you give us some little like astrology tips and remind us of things that are going on. So
thanks. Thank you. I feel like I needed to hear that. So thanks.
yeah. Cause I mean, it's a lot of effort making an email every month or so.
It is. It really is.
Yeah. But it's
Okay.
worth it.
And with
Okay.
that, heal
Our
your
outro
mother
music.
wounds, close your doors. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.